So that's totally good. First half, stressor. Introduce your family because we want to know who they are. Stressor, resources, perception of the stressor, and crisis. And make sure you talk about that in the context of whatever your stressor is. So as we were saying, if it's the COVID one, testing positive is a stressor, hospitalization will be the crisis, and then you've got to fluff all that out. If losing the job is the stressor, what the crisis might be is losing their home, or not having enough money they have to make some kind of change within the family system. A crisis is a change within the system kind of thing. The second half is after the crisis. We call it post-crisis. So you're going to look at the stressor on this one, the little a, big A, are your pileups, hardship. That's one everybody's going to have. What are the hardships because of the stressor? What now are you dealing with? Because of the crisis. What now are you dealing with because of the crisis, right? So if you lost your home, oh my gosh, think of all the things you're dealing with. If you are hospitalized, all the things the family will be dealing with, the hardships, the things they're going to have to do or figure out now that they didn't before. You also could put in a normative transition if you would like. Prior strain is another if you want. What else? Those are kind of the biggies. And then you'll go to resources again, little b, big B. You're going to re-look at those resources again. Do you have any now to use you didn't? Or are you using, maybe now you have insurance, or maybe now you have a new job, or maybe now, what do you have now that you didn't have before? And you might not have anything new. Okay, you might not, but you might. Or maybe you did before, and didn't use it, like you'd rich Uncle Charlie, but you weren't willing to ask for a loan. And maybe now, after you're hospitalized or you lose your home, you're willing to go to rich Uncle Charlie and say, hey, can you spot me a couple thousand to move into a new place? Then you're going to go, and the family systems change. Maybe in part one, family systems, how was the family connected and how flexible were they then? And after a crisis, sometimes we're more willing to be cooperative, come together, figure it out. Maybe we're willing to not be as rigid and make some changes that have to be made that we weren't willing to make before. Then you have little c, big C, the perception of the crisis. Now that you've had the crisis, how does everyone in the family feel about that? They're going to feel differently. Probably. If the crisis was someone's hospitalized, they may have similar feelings. The kids may be more freaked out than mom or dad or whoever, but maybe not. Maybe their perception is, maybe they had a family member got hospitalized, came out fine, no problem. So they're assuming it's going to be the same. Maybe they're into the horrific, oh my God, we're all going to die. That's not a good perception to have at this point. It doesn't help you. Problem. And so the perception of the crisis. And then little x, big X is bonadapt, maladapt. If you used resources and you learn to keep your perception in line with reality, and you've come together as a family and you've built a new muscle that you didn't have before. So then you've bond adapted, because now when life gives you something, and it will, you already know how to come together. Maybe in the second half of the model, the parents now are actually working together to deal with the crisis of a kid or whatever the crisis may be. Where before they weren't on the same page, they didn't even talk to each other. Now, after a crisis, people tend to take things more seriously as far as perception. Oftentimes they let go of the blame for a while, and they just get after, what are we going to do? Let's, sometimes not. They're still in the same place. It's up to you what you want to do with them. And so depending on that, if they have resources and perception, or did they bond adapt or maladapt? And you could do either. You can make these as functional or dysfunctional families as you want. I don't, you play with it. To make it make sense to you. But just keep the order of the ABCX, then double A, double B, double C, double X. Does that help?